scheduling. So some people can't make this meeting. Of course, the people that can't make the meeting aren't in the meeting. Although we have a lot of people in here, so that's really good. I haven't even looked at the poll that I wrote. Joel mentioned that there's no common time, although Michael, was it Michael or Carl? Michael added Friday afternoon. So maybe that's the only time we have everyone. I don't know, Joel, if you saw anything else in the.
Whoops, I contributed and I didn't see. Oh yeah, it's there. Good.
Yeah, Friday. I think Friday. I think Carl specifically has Fridays as good, so I think that was the only day that has like potentially everybody on it. It's with Michael adding Friday. Seemed like there should be time. I don't know. He said that he added Friday, but
I'm not sure.
yeah, I think maybe he needs to just add it again. But I'm guessing one of those. He said Friday afternoon, so 1 through 4 p.m. is probably Central Time is probably one of the ones that will win, I guess.
The poll seems to be from 22nd to 26th, so it doesn't cover a whole week. Is that right?
Oh, it may not have, because I don't have weekends available on my calendar at all.
Okay. Okay, but it covers Monday to Friday. Okay, no, cool,
yeah,
cool.
And
which is
Tim doesn't do weekends either. So
no, fair enough, fair enough.
What are your priorities, Bentley?
Let's see.
And I got confused because 26th December is a Monday in 2022. So is that what 26th December is?
So this is end of 2023. So that way we can keep this calendar going and people can just go in and adjust it.
Okay, so
we can look.
Okay, it's complicated because I don't think in terms of Friday. Okay, now I can see how the days align. And yeah, there's a problem that Carl is only available on Friday and Michael isn't available on Friday. I'm sorry, Carl, but that's a bit limited.
Well, for going forward, like when work starts, I can do probably 8 a.m. Pacifics, like Monday through Thursday. But I mean, it's just so frequent that people put something on the calendar at 9 a.m. because work starts then. And I don't think that was a possibility. I'm not looking at the poll right now, so I don't remember seeing any 8 a.m.s Monday through Thursday Pacific. So I just went with the Friday, which is the only day that I could reliably be there because it's the no meetings day. And so, Mark, are you yawning or surprised?
No, I'm just, oh, no. It's, yeah. I see the 8 a.m. I mean, okay, I was afraid at some point that it was UTC instead of Eastern time, but no, the calendar shows to me in my time zone. Good. I had a moment of scare about that. So 8 a.m. would be my 11 a.m. And there are certainly slots at 11 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, not Wednesday, but Thursday.
Okay, I might have missed it then. I could look back because I could do 8 a.m. on Monday through Thursdays.
We'll come back to our earlier 8 a.m. Monday slot, which was working.
Now, one other thing, since although I think most everyone in the meeting right now is within the North America time zones. I was, and I don't know how many people saw this, but my suggestion is that we set it at GMT, and so it doesn't adjust with anyone's time zones. So everyone has to know it's when you're in daylight savings, the meeting's going to be an hour different. But that way we don't have to coordinate or pick a time zone.
Well,
I wonder if. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I wonder if it's just worth picking again because Otherwise, like if we do it like that, doesn't that mean we need like 2-hour slots essentially for anyone that is in the time zone? That seems harder.
Is in the
Yeah.
time zone. Everyone needs to think it's going to shift. It's going to shift for half the people anyways. So the only question is, do you want it to shift do you want it to shift for half the people one time, shift for half the other people the other time? The differences between the time zone changes.
Yeah,
or do you want it to have
not
shift
everybody
for
changes, goes to daylight saving on the same date. I would still go with that because it requires less flexibility and it's easier. Like it's still the non-overlap daylight saving times is a very short period. So people could just
Well, that makes it even harder because then you can't plan. I mean, then you have to plan on it.
you have to plan on it. But I'm
So
saying
that means for 2 weeks it switches, and like who's going to remember the 2 weeks?
well, I mean, that's what calendars are for. I mean, we have an iCal, we have it shows on our calendar. It's
It
fine.
breaks every year, so I don't know how you think this is a solved problem if people get it wrong every year.
What's the 2-week overlap thing? What overlaps for 2 weeks?
Because Europe changes on a different, and UK change on a different week than the US.
Oh, they have daylight savings, but they change it at a different time. That's
Yeah.
funny. Okay,
Well,
I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
Jeez.
Yeah, it
So
would be too simple.
either you're off, either you're wrong for a couple weeks or you're wrong all summer. And Mark Antoine's saying I'd rather be wrong for 2 weeks, even though if a couple people miss a meeting because
Precisely, I mean, Carl is saying 8 o'clock. He won't be okay with shifting to 9 or to 7. I'm not sure when daylight saving times change.
Yeah, 7 would be challenging. 9 would probably have conflicts.
So I'm saying let's shift, and maybe the 2 weeks will be such that you'll miss 2 weeks, but that's, I think, a lesser evil than saying we will stick to GMT.
I mean, the other challenge is that when people add it to their own calendar, if they're not using our calendar, they're going to add it. I mean, that's why they're going to miss it, because they're going to add it in the wrong time zone.
Well, let's
Well,
put it in our calendar and subscribe to our calendar. I mean, that's, again, it should be a solved problem. I know Tim was like, oh, it's not my calendar. Why?
Yeah. I don't know
But
if you saw my response. Why is it not in your calendar? What?
Yeah, really. No. It's a solvable problem. Maybe it's not a solved problem, but it's a solvable problem. We're all techies. We can all subscribe to a bloody iCal.
All right. Does anyone want to break the tie? I think people pretty much agree with Mark Antoine, so we can do that. Which time zone do we want to choose then as the base time zone? Or which country?
Well, wait, but can't you set your own calendar to be like your own time zone and then so like
Yes.
whatever?
No,
but he's right. There's
which
one
daylight
time
savings chat dates are we going to choose?
Yes.
Oh,
he's right.
We can go with majority rules right now.
Yeah.
Since we're all North American.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm surprisingly okay
Where's
with
Harrison
that.
at?
I think it was a West Wing episode that said decisions are made by the people that show up.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
I mean, let's face it, in Europe right now, we have Stephen and not many other players.
All right, so we'll just set it at Central
Felix.
US.
US daylight saving times. And I'm taking the risk that it won't coincide with me in Canada sometimes, and we're taking the risk that it won't coincide with.
I think, yeah, aren't we in sync now, Canada and US?
We are now. You're proposing to change, we're not.
Oh, well, yeah, we were talking about removing daylight savings, and it did pass one house, but the easier house, so I don't think that's actually going to happen. But in this case, that case will be US, and
it's very simple. The South doesn't want it, the North wants it.
Yeah.
The usual.
Okay. So time zones being kind of decided. So do we want to just do another week and tell everyone to go and review their dates and times?
I think we should.
Okay.
Because many people are missing.
Mhm.
And Carl can put more check boxes, obviously.
Okay, I'll make a note in the Hangouts channel. Um,
And let's add Stephen and Tim.
okay.
Sorry, folks. Sorry, Harrison. It's your first visit, I think, or
Yeah, I'm trying to think, Harrison. I don't recall. Of course, he's
He was last
video and
time, I
audio
think.
off, but
yeah,
Harrison
it's
was
true.
chatting up a storm last
remember.
time.
It's true. It's true.
Getting
It's
too
true.
big, I can't remember who's who anymore. We need a
You're right. You're right. You're right.
directory.
You were chatting up a storm. That's going to be a good conversation.
I was in DC before moving to Seattle, Harrison. I was there for 13 years.
Okay.
My sister lives here and work.
Oh, sorry. Felix is in European time. Oops.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Felix is, and I guess Stephen Juris, right?
Yeah. No, Stephen. Stephen, I named. I forgot to name Felix. I feel bad about that. My name Mathilde.
Okay. Next topic. Let me. Does anyone have a quick link to the poll? Do I have it up?
I've got in the Zoom meeting.
Or actually, I got it. I think. Hopefully. All right. So I wanted to chat about goals and stuff, and I haven't really looked at the docs that let me pull all this up. And we can go off this topic also if no one finds it interesting. Let me share screen. My Zoom foo is not at its all-time best right now. Okay. So we'd kind of talked about wanting to
Look at the other
understand-
document first, I think. The first link I sent.
understand where everyone's at. Because there's some people that are focusing on different areas and have different kind of limitations on what they want to accomplish, and for us to work together, it's just a little bit easier to kind of understand that, and it's hard to remember. We got enough people now that, you know, if it's over 5 people. So this is the first document where we talked about different goals. What I found, what I think, although I could be wrong, is that when we're doing this, this is kind of a mix of like big goals, little goals, overlapping goals, and
It was more work packages than goals, right? Like
right.
who
I'm
wants
sorry.
to work
You're
on
correct.
what? And
This was work packages. I thought it would be helpful to know. Right. Yeah, this is work packages. I thought it'd be helpful to know what are
is to
people's
refocus on
ultimate
goals.
Yeah, so between goals and work packages, that might be good depending on the size of the work packages. But I also thought it'd be nice to know what I was calling specialization. So like my big goal is still, you know, helping society make rational group decisions, but right now I'm not working a majority of the stuff it does to do that. I'm working on a scoring system that's based on evidence. So having, you know, there could be a work package of scoring system based on evidence, and then we kind of know where I'm at. But the way I was also thinking about it, because some of these goals may not be at the work levels, I was just thinking of ways to, and I was just trying to work it out myself. So I kind of like made this diagram to get a feeling for where people are focusing. So there's like a main goal of building agreement, this white. This is meant to be a Venn diagram, even though it has arrows in it. And then the goal of improving individual cognition, because Ben was mostly focusing on that. So yeah, anyways, and then there's the steps of the process of doing this, or different ways of doing it. So it's like, you're gathering and processing input, you're analyzing it, you're remembering it, and you're deciding on an output. And it's between like the individual and the others. Just one way I was thinking about it. We can definitely do this another way. And so I'm focusing on the analysis of the data and the memory. Tim is really focused on the memory for the canonical debate. The main thing is having a location place. I mean, there is analysis in that of reducing duplicates and stuff. So this is not perfect. Ben is mostly working on individual cognition processes and memory.
I have a question. The memory just referring to like after we make a decision or after we like make this
no, it's all
argument.
It's all forms of memory. So if someone makes a claim, then having it documented somewhere, regardless of whether that's an actual decision or not. So it's the data for deriving the decisions. That's the way I was thinking about it. I realized this wasn't too clear, and it's being two-dimensional is a limitation. So then I was thinking, well, then maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe we just kind of say, oh, we have just some scales. Like, what is the size of the group that you're working on? And then, you have the dotted lines for this is my ultimate goal in the future. And then this is where I'm focusing. So Ben is focusing on single person. I'm, the size I'm making is like 1 to 8 or 8 to 30 or, something like that. And then Marc-Antoine, for me, seems to be focusing on, kind of the larger areas.
What does concern mean in this diagram?
So, well, later on, I was thinking that there were some aspects where people were saying, I think there's a danger in working on that. So you could say, I explicitly don't want to work on this. But that doesn't affect the size of the group, but there's some other things where you're talking about scoring. Some people are saying scoring is evil. And so they would mark the whole thing as concerning.
Yeah, certainly size is, it's very much a concern, and I bring it up often. I certainly want to go broader than just big, though I do want to expand to big. So yes, it's definitely where I am. But I don't think I have concerns at the scale level, and certainly not the only way I describe what we're trying, like the aspects of what we're trying to do.
No, so this is meant to just be one aspect. So we would do this for other aspects.
Okay.
But this is a quick way to kind of like visually see where people are at on this aspect, because it was too kind of complicated to read this diagram. So I thought I'd break it down into individual aspects. I don't know. So those are just two proposed ways of kind of saying these are the things.
Certainly I'd want to negotiate the bubbles in the first one. I see what you're trying to do, and there's definitely overlap with what I see, but I would have drawn a few differently.
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of leaving that out and leaning towards this one, where we just pick several of these different aspects and
the only thing is
maybe
not
even
all
store it numerically. This is just a visualization of it.
Some other aspects may not lend themselves to a left to right axis.
Well, I would say
It depends on what they're.
I think if you rephrase them and break them apart, they do.
Maybe.
Is there one that doesn't?
I
mean, some are
it's
Boolean.
arbitrary. I think it's more important to have an exhaustive list than to concern ourselves about whether it can be well ordered. Exhaustive list of what we care about. But it is interesting certainly to do the exercise of seeing what are the areas of overlap and non-overlap, and our respective dead angles. For example, a lot of people in the collective decision space think a lot about argument pro and con, which is totally valid. But for me, a key question is concept identity. Is this concept the same as this concept, the subtype? Is there overlap? Stuff like that. Are we talking about the same thing before we make claims about it? And why do we believe this claim is true? It's like, what are we even talking about? So that's a concern that I find not many people have to the degree I have it. And I think having these, for me, the question of concept overlap and concept composition is front and center, and how we use them in claims and arguments is important, but secondary and afterthought. And oh yeah, you can just scale that up to arguments, and I hand wave a bit. Totally true. Whereas I find other people are looking at the argument structure and hand waving the concepts that are part of it, from my standpoint. And that's fine. I mean, I'm just saying having the list of these perspectives, I think, is really important. Like for Felix, who's not here, the question of how to do the aggregate and reputation is really central. And okay, and it's no argument that it's important, but it's what's central for whom.
It seems like, just from my view, that like maybe there could just be like a spreadsheet of like features we care about, and then like
we're trying to establish what the rows of the spreadsheet are. we're negotiating the rows of the spreadsheet. What's the list?
Okay.
It's not as
Well,
easy
I
as
mean,
it
also,
looks.
but I think Joel might be saying that we don't need to have the scales on them.
Or, well, the scales might come into play. I mean, maybe like when you fill it out for yourself, if it's like people along the y-axis, then like you could put like in the cell small, medium, large, or something. But I guess what I'm more getting at is like the diagram of like the explicitly getting overlap with the diagram seems like harder than starting from a spreadsheet with just the like explicit list of features. I think the diagram seems like it's trying to like abstract more to make it like look nicer, but I think that's just seems harder to do.
I think they're explicitly not features. Like some of them may be features, but that's not what we're doing. Like group size is not a feature.
Right.
I'm saying so like we have goals we're trying to accomplish, and then we have, here are my subsections of the goals that I'm focusing on at the moment.
Yeah, so maybe goals, maybe just goals, and then like we can have like really abstract goals at the top where hopefully we all kind of share like the main goal of just like improving like decision making or something, and then more specific, which I guess just doesn't need to go down to the level of features, but as far as
yeah. And what's a feature? Like, is scaling up to billions of users a feature? It's depending on how you define feature, and it's fine. I think I would put it as a feature. I would say, or rather it's a requirement for me, as opposed to a feature. But I don't think the distinction matters all that much. It's something I care about. It's a concern. Well-defined concepts is a concern, and scaling up is a concern. And reputation is a concern for Felix, and Carl is giving his concerns. And I'm really curious about Harrison's nominal categorical variable. Let's tell me more.
I wasn't able to parse that, so I don't know.
I was just referring to when we were talking about like whether you can have variables that don't, or that can that like whether all variables can be expressed in terms of like a sliding scale or like one-dimensional axis, and I was saying those can't.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's not much value in ones that can't, so you don't need to have them in the list. Okay. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm saying that they aren't helpful. But I could definitely be wrong. We'll see that. I mean, we already kind of have some goals here, so we can see if that fits. But also, we don't have we don't have a goal of like, because we were thinking of specific goals as opposed to ranges, we don't have group size, but that is an important distinguishing factor between our focuses. Right? Not yet.
I don't know if it's the most important, but it's a
No,
factor.
I didn't say it was the most important.
No, no,
Didn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
imply that.
Good. I
Very good.
misread. Yeah, the top is it's map.
Sure.
Map is me, by the way, Marc-Antoine Parent, and I
Yeah,
have
that's true.
my
Right?
initials.
And then
So
Tim's down here.
That's
And
my.
also,
And
yeah,
then
I
there's
can't.
a,
Right. But to compare
Yeah.
these, a pain in the butt because I have to keep scrolling up and down. Right.
so please do add yourself and say what's your list, and then we'll try to see where's the overlap and make sure we don't forget anybody's concerns.
Well, yeah, it's just this format is very painful.
Okay, so I understand you had a proposal for a document
No,
format?
we still need to go through this. We still need to list the goals.
Okay.
It's hard that they're like, I don't know, at some point we need to take these and
I think
they
we'll
almost
have
need
to
to be on separate sheets so I can see them next to each other rather than.
And then we can draw arrows and say, okay, this is there and this is there. And I think what we'll
Yeah.
do probably is negotiate the name of one element and then
So-
say, yeah, that covers this case, this case, this case for me. So we'll
So maybe
thin our respective lists as we thicken the common list.
So
It's
maybe a
painful
good place to
process.
do this would be in Miro. I don't know if people are comfortable with that or not. Miro examples.
You know,
The-
a spreadsheet also could, you know, could have different tabs for each person and then like eventually combine. I suppose if we have like both use cases and goals, then that's not super easy to add. But the nice thing about a spreadsheet is that like if the size or the scale isn't like always relevant, like you don't have to necessarily put it until you like fill out if you care about that thing. I guess like in the cell you could say care about this for everything or for this specific like scale.
Spreadsheet is fine. Even Miro's fine. I'm not the most visual person, but what's important for me is that we distinguish the personal areas where we try to explain what our perspectives and the common area where we try to say, yeah, we're all behind that one.
I think definitely starting with the goals, even if we don't get down to the areas of focus, I think would be helpful. And then adding up, because yeah, there's too many ways to say it. Maybe listing out the goals and then finding common language and then choosing our different areas. It's just maybe thinking of goals as because you can phrase a goal as in I want to help a single person make a decision. That's a goal, but it's on the scale of I want to help people on different scales make decisions, what scale it is. So when we're wording the goals, to think about what is the what scale is that goal fit in, if it's scalable. Some are Boolean, some are not scalable, but I don't know why I'm logged out of Miro all of a sudden.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So do we want to say that as a, sorry, go ahead, Marc-Antoine.
No. I agree that helping individual cognition is a goal. Helping someone make a decision, I don't know if that's a goal. Yeah, I guess it could be.
I mean, someone may accidentally write it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Ben's goal technically. So he would write it that way. We would write it a different way, but really we can fit both those goals on the same scale if we reword them. So yeah, so we could take it as a task to everyone to kind of list out some goals, and then maybe in a later meeting we can try and consolidate them.
Yeah,
that sounds good to me.
Does anyone want to talk any more about that, or do we want to move on to the next topic?
is this topic including the work packages thing, or is that the next? Or maybe the
We can talk
figuring out
about
the
that for a
goals
second.
first, or
I would think I would think agreeing on a kind of a list of top goals, even if we don't all have them, and the wording on those, I think would be a better place to start than the work packages. I don't know, Mark Antoine, and the experience, do you disagree with that, or?
I agree with you. I think it's more important to align on goals first. Work packages come from goals.
Cool.
I have a proposed list of work packages, but they mostly derive from my goals, and I'm perfectly aware of that.
That's the right place to start, right? What did I have as the next kind of suggested topic?
Present project updates.
Okay, that's not helpful. Yeah, so, and I don't know if we want to do that or look at the CDL website while we have someone here. How those two topics. CDL website might actually be kind of quick.
Let's go through the website. You're right, it can go fast. And it's useful for everybody.
So right now, this is Canonical Debate Lab. We have our blog. We have our white paper, which is really kind of for the canonical debate, not the lab, but I don't know if the distinction is clear to everybody, but canonical debate is a singular place to kind of get all the claims together. But a lot of us have goals, as we'll see, that are bigger than that. Mostly include that, but are bigger. We might need a description on this one, but this was the collective intelligence design challenges, the suggestions we're making, I think, during the map project. Marc Antoine, is that correct?
Correct.
So basically, just a real quick overview on this. I redid it. The design's not great, but I redid it because if you go to the GitHub, which we don't have a link to, if you do a pull request and put it and we approve it, then it automatically deploys now. So the main thing was I switched it over to 11D for automatic deploys.
what was the name of that service?
The 11T is the static site generator. 11ty.com, I think.
It's like Jenkins or something. Not
Gatsby.
Gatsby and Jenkins. Yeah, it's just Markdown and JavaScript.
Right.
And and then we're using Netlify auto deploy. Yeah, so in theory you can go into the source. Is that the right one? No, is this
Pages?
the wrong one?
Yeah, no, Pages under that.
Pages. Yeah, and then we have, I guess, and this can be changed, I think, is index. Yeah, index is outside the pages, which it probably needs to be in pages. So if you go in and you do an edit on it, and then you submit a pull request, and this is just standard Markdown with I forgot what that's called.
Yeah,
but the header.
Metadata or something.
Yeah, then it'll deploy. So it's a little bit easier to make changes. So we have the list of partner sites on here. Like we probably need to take Gruff off. I don't even know. Does Gruff still go anywhere? No. Anyways, and then a couple people have come in recently. We have Howju on here. I don't know, Joel, if you want to put yours on here or not. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
so people can look at that and make suggestions. If you want, you could go directly and we have these, which Oz hasn't participated in a while.
Yeah, and I've never written mine, and
yeah. So it's there for anyone who wants to just there's Canonical Debate Lab on GitHub, and you can make a pull request. If you don't know how to do that, talk to us. But I think
Jack, should we add topic quests? I think we should.
Oh, that's a good question.
What was the question?
For topic quests, which is one of Jack's projects,
Oh,
might be good to add.
Those are more organizations than projects. Maybe we should have both organizations and projects, or people and projects. I don't know.
And
Because that's a
kinda why
mix,
I
like
just said-
conversants. Yeah.
That's why I did sites instead of projects, because
Yeah, like Conversants is my organization. It's not the projects. Cyberknowledge, Idealoom, SenseCraft are, and SenseCraft would be for both Conversants and topic quests, and yeah.
And it'd be good to have a little description on these anyways, because if it's like,
Yes.
if you just see Socrates, it's like, well, what does that mean?
One of my pet peeves with classic Markdown is not having a definition list. Multi Markdown has it, of course.
Yeah, they have like footnotes and stuff.
I love multi Markdown. Anyway, another story.
And actually, I would like to set these up to each have their own page and then have it run through and pull the metadata and have images and stuff, but I may not. I don't know when I'll have time to do something like that. But while we're here, does anyone have any other questions or suggestions for the website? Although if you make a suggestion about the website, you're gonna do it, so.
What is
so
the
much
live
way to
demo
say.
site now? Is it the debate map?
Say that again.
The last link, the one below YouTube. What
Live
is
demo
that?
site. Yeah, I think that's debate. Yeah, debate map. Which may not be a great kind of.
It's one of the most advanced tools in the lot right now.
Yeah,
By the
it
way,
just
this-
doesn't. I don't think the onboarding experience right now is really good.
Yep.
Like good enough to
Onboarding.
list as a demo. I'd almost rather put it down here as a partner site, and we could put a note saying that it's the closest to CDL at the moment.
Yes, that I'd be perfectly fine with that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I
it's
get
it's the onboarding. Debate map is a wonderful tool, but the onboarding still leaves to be desired. Fair enough.
Okay. So the other kind of tasks, and we could do this over the next couple of weeks as people are interested, is to give an update to the group on our individual projects, and that'll also give Joel an opportunity to get familiar with them, and also for us to see what each other's up to, because oftentimes we're making changes and not reporting back to the group. So I don't know if anyone wants to do that. Carl looks busy. Either I can do it, or Marc Antoine. Joe already did his. Harrison could show with the screen off. He's probably not participating as quickly. Jack could show something. Up for volunteers. And I'll volunteer if no one does. Good with that?
I'll go quickly. I'm still working on I have kind of 2 or 3 activities right now, but one of them is I'm very part-time on SenseCraft, where I'm working. Right, we completed user verifying users by email, which is as boring as it gets, but we've had pretty interesting ideas about scoring. So the goal of SenseCraft, just for newcomers, it's about gamifying the experience of debating in teams. So we get people in teams around what we call a quest, which is a wicked problem. And then we try to get them to fill a structured conversation. We're using IBIS as a basic template. So issue, proposal, arguments, pros and cons. And at any point, you can ask a new question and open up the debate that way. We had played a bit with the notion. We have a kind of algorithm to say, okay, this proposal is being attacked because there's a negative argument without an answer, unless there's a con to the con, and then and is it is are the pros and cons supported? So there's a kind of threat status for any argument. So we see that an argument has been well supported, like successfully attacked and things like that. And we were going to do a kind of scoring based on that to make it more into a game. And then we realized any scoring will be gamed, like people play to the score, and that's not really helpful. So what we want to do now is actually give every player or every team or both tokens that they have to give to players of the other teams to say that was a good move. And so have the players reward one another for substantial contributions. So we're going to play with that. None of that is implemented, but that's just the changes in conception of the system that we're working with. There's a lot of questions, open questions in the design of SenseGraph, but that's one thing I'm doing. The other thing is I'm still working on what I described a bit, hyperknowledge. There's many aspects to hyperknowledge, but the one that holds my attention right now is how to get a kind of idea of how people define a concept and get a kind of social, like get definition elements and how many people endorse that definition element. So, and then identify a cluster, a kind of covering cluster, like, okay, this, a lot of people agree on. So that's probably a definition that people can move forward. And if you disagree with that definition, then you propose, well, I would actually add this definition element. And if you find that it's a minority, you basically coin a new term and say, well, with my definition, this is how I would like to name this concept, which I think is important and distinct from the one everybody's using. And I'm trying to do the kind of data model and social dynamics of these collective definition of terms or ideas, proposals. For me, it's recursive. Claims are concepts. I don't make a strong distinction between definitions and claims. Any way you have to define it. But a claim is obviously a composite. There's a frame and there's elements in the frame, and each of them has their own definition. And then how to control the update cascade. If I decide, okay, I'm changing that definition, well, all the claims involving that definition may need review. And how do you know whether it needs review or not? And if you've aligned your definition with the collective definition, again, the collective definition is changed, is it worth changing your, so that's what I'm thinking about these days the most.
So I see on the SenseGraph, there's like a demo page for the hyperknowledge. Is there a
No, there isn't. There's no running code for hyperknowledge now. There was at some point. It's very theoretical at this point. I want it to become practical, but I'm still struggling with the concepts.
Okay.
Idealoom is the most accomplished system. Like SenseGraph is still a bit fledgling. It's evolving. It's getting to be a substantial thing. But
it's a cool idea. Is for the SenseGraph, out of curiosity, the back and forth of teams to contribute, is there also like comments or threading, or is it or like separately from the arguments, or you're
doing it on the argument tree, or there's something we call channels, which are kind of side argument tree. So more meta, or you can add a meta node that is just discussing the node. It's not perfect yet. We're still playing with that, but right now everything happens in the tree, in the trees. And there's many kinds of trees, and there's a whole kind of visibility, what is it again? Publication workflow for each node. So you start with a private node, you show it to your group, or you can show it just to people with a certain role in your team, and then you get the team leader to approve it, and then it becomes public and other people can look at it. Or it could become public just at the end of the turn, still working possibilities there. So now, question from Harrison about Polis. Polis from my understanding, and I may be wrong, but there's a lot to love in terms of polling, and the whole statistical analysis it does is brilliant. But I don't think it has a good facility for merging and like saying, oh, those are the same, substantially the same proposal, and split the vote uselessly, or there's this slight misunderstanding about this, this is unclear. Like there's a whole, what I see is, on the one hand, we want people to crowdsource ideas and to come up, this new idea I have, freely, on the one hand. On the other hand, when you're going large scale, you get a lot of things, some of which are derivative, which is not necessarily a problem, but closed duplicates, and splitting the vote on closed duplicates. And I think it's important to refactor, to say, okay, well, here's a main proposal, here's how they vary, and we can vote separately in the variance, but agree on the main proposal so we don't split the vote. And there's no mechanism for that I know of in Polis. Now it's been a while since I looked at it, but at the time there wasn't. Maybe you have something else to say about this, Harrison?
No, I was just asking because it seemed somewhat similar to what you're describing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, they're really emphasizing something else, which is having the stats and having the participation. And again, that's of huge value. But for me, there's a prior step that's missing according to my view of the world.
In Polis, do they even have like an argument style? Like, I thought it was mostly just like they put out like a question or something, and then you can choose how to word like your answers, but there's not like a bunch of back and forth like iteration on any.
No,
Yeah.
it's a powerful system. I mean, as Jack is pointing out in the chat, it was used by eTaiwan for real issues. I don't want to dismiss Polis. Obviously, they've done something successful, but I think I can improve on this from another angle. What can I say? I don't know if I could have done Polis. I mean, I'm not as good a statistician as they are, but you know, something else.
Awesome.
I'm very, and that's something else I want to put into SenseCraft. Like right now, we're just adding nodes and discussing nodes. I want to have node refactorings as a move, saying this is a synthesis of that, and make that into a game move. That's a bit further in the future, but definitely something I want to move towards. I think that adding is only one kind of operation, and the most important operation is often refactoring. Maintenance, because accretion becomes another illegible mess. Nobody wants to read the email thread because it's too long. And if every move remains there without some mechanism of condensation and reorganization, it becomes as rich and as unwieldy as an email thread in a way. It's a bit better because it's structured and got hierarchy. So it's a well-threaded email thread. So that's much better already, but still, the volume is there.
Is SenseCraft specifically two teams going back and forth right now?
And teams.
And teams? Okay.
I think the dynamic will be much better with N teams than two teams.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty independent of your
Totally.
like disambiguation.
Yes. Well,
okay.
No, I do want to use that at some point, and
it seems like something that could be added to it, but like
yes.
the like initial.
No, they're parallel tracks right now. I hope they meet, but they're parallel at this point.
Ooh.
Okay.
Cool. So so that's a good update. We probably don't have time for another update if we want to keep these to an hour. Although another thing to discuss is, do people want longer or shorter meetings? I think hour weekly is probably good. I did want to point one thing out. If anyone's interested, I posted a script for a potential video that I'm doing for Reasonpedia. It's in the podcast channel, #podcast. Not that it's a podcast, but that term is very vague these days. anyway, so I could use some feedback on that if anyone wants to. It's a Google Doc, so and comments are open. So if anyone wants to look at that, or I could even talk to it a little bit now with the last 4 minutes. I don't know if I'm actually going to make the video or not. But I was thinking for Reason PD, I was going to start making some video content to kind of share what I'm thinking, even though it's not a tool people can use right now. But it'll be playing with the scoring and how to express the scoring to people. So thanks, Jack. Yeah. Any other topics before we close off the meeting, or any questions about anything that we've discussed?
I guess about the meeting length, I probably slightly prefer an hour, but if everybody wanted to go longer, I could probably do it as well, at least in a month.
I guess we'll keep it in a
I think an hour is good. So much.
Yeah,
not
it's
got a big day.
it seems like if there was interest in longer, that it would be better to do 2 meetings instead of 1 anyway. Just but
yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
this is meant to be kind of the general meeting, and then people can go off and have another sub meeting on a specific topic. Yeah, so and we do have a Google Calendar, so it's highly suggested, and that's linked. I don't know, somewhere I'm gonna try and clarify that, but somewhere in the general thing, there's an
think
iCal link.
whenever it posts about the next meeting, the calendar and
Unless I think I saw on the last post it didn't have it, but maybe it did.
wait, can the iCal format be used for Google Calendar? 'Cause I use Google.
This is Google Calendar. So we're doing it the iCal format. Mail, we can give you access.
There's both way for Google Calendar to be exposed as iCal and for any iCal feed, including, of course, another Google Calendar to be added to your calendar, to your Google Calendar. You can subscribe to an iCal URL, which any Google Calendar can provide.
Cool.
That's why I was saying it's a solvable problem.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to Slack me their Google Gmail ID, email, we can add you to the official Google Calendar, and then you can actually probably add things too.
Is that different than subscribing to the calendar? Or Bentley keeps...
It is different, and it's a better process if you're going from Google Calendar to Google Calendar. Like you don't
Yeah, the
need to go
iCal is
through
just
that.
for people that don't want to mess with Google Calendar.
Okay. I'll send you my email then.
All right. And now my internet's going down, so I'll probably do it again.
Yeah.
I go reboot my router right now. But if that's it, we'll end the meeting. I'll put some more notes in the Hangouts channel, and we'll have the same meeting at the same time next week, and then we'll discuss the official change. So we'll just leave everything the same. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.